On a day like today, it's cold.
It is.
It's wet.
Yep.
It's nasty.
Yep.
What the hell brings you up?
The truth, freedom. We want our freedoms. That's what we're here for, freedom.
Nobody cares about the working class. You don't care about us. You want your ratings on CBS, and you want to lift up that name in the White House.
You already made up your mind about me.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm sorry to say that. I'm saying the media, you have been lying to the American people long enough.
This rally took place weeks before any verdict in Trump's New York trial had been reached. But the faithful weren't going to be swayed by any verdict delivered by a New York jury.
He's not guilty. If anybody's guilty, it's Biden. Sorry.
There would appear to be very few, if any, people in this crowd
It was rigged. It was fake.
looking to be convinced of anything new. You folks think that Trump lost the last election?
No, not at all. The truth will come out.
There'll be another election. And when it's all over,
Oops, I dropped some of the bread. I'm gonna have to dump it out. Trash.
Christina, just know that there's a lot more to this than what they're showing us out there now. I think God's behind everything we do here, and I mean that.
Yeah, that's right.
Sincerely.
you think President Trump
In
is
response,
involved?
sometimes it's a trickery. Sometimes,
I would like to
sometimes
think
it's just
he
to
is.
help you guys
I
out.
feel he is. I feel he is. And every time he seems he gets charged with something, more and more people come out to stand behind him.
But yeah, it's always to help you guys out in the long term. But sometimes when we do, when I do and my team does, when I do and my team does respond to situations like this, having to do with Donald Trump and his supporters, waiting for some sort of conflict and some sort of battle with black nationalists or Mexican, activists. They usually show up to these functions. And they are told in advance, like this. Hold on.
6, the violence in the steps of Congress, the chaos in the halls of Congress. President Trump.
So I'm gonna have to explain this to you guys, okay? I'm gonna have to explain everything. What I just said, it might have sounded a bit chopped up or choppy, or a bit dissected. Okay, I'm gonna have to shave again. Hold on, and then I'll be able to explain everything to you guys. What you guys requested today, I'm not gonna be able to live with it. I'm gonna have to TKO right now. I'm gonna have to TKO you guys right now, okay? Where's my electric shaver? Here it is.
Freezing my ass off up here.
They can live. Many have been out here for more than 8 hours. They are nothing if not sympathetic.
2 days from now.
The former president is only days away from his death.
So I want you guys to know this.
And the statement of Robert E. Lee, who's no longer in favor. Did you ever notice that? No longer.
Yeah, Albert Mann, in all honesty, was Robert E. Lee. And Albert Mann, my step-grandfather, originally from New York, still in North Carolina, consistently in Florida. He was Robert E. Lee, and he was George Washington, okay? He was my step-grandfather. Each time I grew up with, when I was Egyptian royalty, when I was Pharaoh Amun-Ra, Pharaoh Eternal, he was always my grandfather. So they've been with me the whole time. And I'm not speaking about any other Albert Mann, but the person married to Joyce Mann, who lived at 106 Clifton Ridge Court, Lewisburg, North Carolina. But anyway, Donald Trump, I want you guys to understand this. When white nationalists cross the line, when they show up at Donald Trump's rallies and stuff of that nature, and they always expect Mexican activists or Mexican-American activists and African-American nationalists or black nationalists to show up at the rallies, and they always anticipate some sort of conflict. Okay, and they always are told that the conflicts are hidden from TV, that it's going to be hidden this time around, or it might not be, or finally, this is the time that we are going to show the world that there's conflict all over the country. You know, so that's what I meant by that, you know. When I sent them there, allowed them to believe into that, believe that, it's for audit purposes, trickery. If they try to trick us, if they try to trick, you know, black college students into showing up, but not us, I'm not a black college student anymore, but black people in general, if they try to trick black college students and professors and civil society, you know, activists and so forth into showing up at these rallies and sort of instigating or perpetuating falsely some sort of black nationalism or some sort of black extremism and this and that. I have the trickery of having them show up and then be videotaped or video recorded and broadcasted to the world that they're very incompetent when it comes to just having any sort of social intelligence. When we speak to them, when we interview them, they sound completely, simpleton and very uneducated. Okay? So, but usually it's to help them when I do show up or when my team shows up. It's usually to help them in the long term, like everyone else, you know. To help them in the long term. I don't want this country to end up in a situation of perpetual or consistent, social conflict or political conflict. And they do know that Jesus Christ is here on the planet, here in the United States, and they were told that I am African American in this particular life because I've been condemned for having condemned white folks for trying to kill Barack Obama. So they're trying to figure out how they get around that, and they're ready to meet Jesus Christ, meet me, and see what I look like. They said right now he's still a kid, he's 5'8", but he's going to be 6'8" very soon. He just grows magically. They just say a lot of stuff, okay? Stuff that I have to bear with. They said the same stuff about Martin Luther King Jr. You know, they said he's just a little boy. Martin Luther King Jr., he's only about 5'6". Why would we take him seriously and this and that? You know, very disrespectful people. You know, they make no sense. So whenever the ETs show up, and they show up in 5'1" bodies and they nuke cities, they always laugh. They always laugh leaving the planet. But anyway. So this is what I want you guys to also to understand, okay? I am going to also author. I'm going to author a work paper today, and it's going to be Legal and Political Tenets of the fourth Article 4 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Okay, I'm going to author that today. I'm going to have it published once again on script.com. I'm going to have it published on my website, ShawnDexterJohn.wordpress.com. I'm also going to have it posted on my LinkedIn account. I'm also going to have it documented, stored, and posted on my Facebook, Instagram, Twitter accounts. Okay, so I'm also going to have it privately stored in my databases, my storage data, and so forth. And also, it's going to be stored by INTERPOL and CIA offices all throughout the state of Florida and elsewhere. So I don't have to worry about it being stolen. Any attempt will be detected and identified. So that there's just no reason for me to overreact at this particular point. But yeah, Donald Trump has officially, for the most part, said it is quite possible that he is suspended, and speaking of Donald Trump, that he is suspended his candidacy to be president because he's pretty sure that he's going to get a year of prison or house arrest, and he's just not going to be able to be president being under house arrest, whether it's 6 months or a year, or in prison 6 months or a year. He's pretty sure that he's going to have to cancel or suspend his campaign. And he has spoken to Mitt Romney as I have advised. I said, well, Donald Trump, you're going to have to fake your death between June 23rd to July 5th. Yeah, we're pretty sure that you're going to have to fake your death at this particular point for security purposes, especially considering what the ruling is going to be, whether you fake your death or not. I mean, what the sentencing is going to be. Whether he fakes a death or not. But anyway, he has spoken with Mitt Romney, and he's said that he's going to back Mitt Romney, serving as Nikki Haley's vice presidential candidate or nominee, because when he fakes his death, Nikki Haley is by automation is going to become the presumptive and then the official nominee of the Republican Party, the RNC actually. Okay? And she's going to become the first woman president, we are sure of it. And then she's going to fake an assassination on inauguration night, as she has said yes to, if she's crazy enough to say yes to being president of the United States, just to help Mitt Romney become president of the United States for 2 terms, because it's impossible to be able to sell a Mormon to African Americans and a lot of these white nationalists all over the country who have been tutored by Donald Trump to never trust Mitt Romney again, because he gave the election to Barack Obama the 2nd term, all sorts of stuff, so they don't know how to trust Mitt Romney per se, but they'll feel comfortable with him being a vice presidential candidate, being told by an American woman that he cannot have multiple wives on a compound in Utah. They believe a lot of stuff. I'm telling you, what people believe behind closed doors all over the country is quite shocking. They believe that Mitt Romney has 100 wives on a compound, in Iowa or Utah. They almost sure of it. But anyway. So yeah, he's going to serve as president for 2 terms. When she fakes her death on inauguration night, he'll be called up, and then he'll be told that he's now the president of the United States, and he will be able to win the 2nd term via ordinary presidential election, with him the presidential nominee of the Republican Party, naturally by automation, and so on. Okay? So that's the decision we've made with the United Nations Security Council and the United Nations General Assembly also, and specifically the United States government, and the Canadian government, the Mexican government, and so forth. All right? I did instruct the Mexican people via the Central Intelligence Agency to elect the first female president of Mexico, and they did so. Okay? That's clearly what I requested. They do recall seeing me in Mexico. They do recall me working with the federal government of Mexico, and instructing them how to get that done, and how to get support from the United States government, and how to not feel that this is some sort of burden to the Mexican people or the Mexican government itself. So by the time the leading American women said yes to her being president, and trust me, they said no to it initially. They said no over and over and over again. They said, we want Kamala Harris to be able to become the first female president in the Americas, because we have plans of removing Jagan, the first president of Guyana, female president of Guyana, removed from history, from the history books. There's so many stuff. People believe in a whole lot of stuff. They were eventually, this is what they were going to argue. Well, we're going to argue that Kamala Harris was elected by the popular people, or the popular count, and that President Jagan was only elected by the parliament, per se, based on what we see in the Constitution of Guyana, if she was indeed the first president of Guyana. We don't even know anymore, because sometimes they change so much of the information online, because this is what Corinne Japie was saying. Because I clearly was born in Haiti, and online all it says is that I was born in Martinique, and this and this and that. So I don't even know what to believe anymore. That's what it has come to at this particular point. So, but yeah, I made those decisions, and I want you guys to accept that. Okay? And yeah, so I want you guys to understand this. I did explain this to some of my inner circles. This is declassified information, okay? temporarily declassified information, in all honesty. It's top secret. All of the video recordings, specifically the video recordings themselves, not my publications per se, will be removed from online by the end of 2024 for security purposes by me. Okay, but anyway, yeah, Kobe Bryant. When I was Thomas Jefferson, Kobe Bryant was my son. He's one of my favorite sons in heaven. He's been my lead son in training to become lead agent for 10,000 years after we are done here for 500 years on this planet. Okay, he's going to be lead agent for 10,000 years for the most part, other than Menelik, God himself of the new universe which will be created, will be lead agent whenever he decides to be agent for rescue purposes. Okay, naturally, in being God himself. But anyway, yeah, Kobe Bryant covered up a lot of stuff, in this particular lifetime. He was Hernandez Cortez, okay? He was Hernandez Cortez in a past life, and as my son, when I was Thomas Jefferson, he was the only one. He was he actually was not my son as Thomas Jefferson, but as my son in heaven. But he was with us when I was here as Thomas Jefferson. He was a slave from the West Indies. All of the African American slaves, they were from the West Indies, or they were children of slaves brought from the West Indies. Let me explain to you guys how this worked. All of the slaves, they were first brought to the West Indies. We try to hide it in history. They were first brought to the West Indies, and they were creolized into being able to speak enough English to be able to survive in North America. Okay? They were all in the West Indies, the Caribbean islands. Some lived there for the rest of their lives, a minority. Some had children who they took to the United States afterward. But all of the African-American slaves, they lived, the first who got there, they were either born in the West Indies, or they grew up in the West Indies, or they lived in the West Indies significantly before they got to America, to the United States of America, or the colonies back then, the 13 colonies. That's the part of history that's sort of hidden, okay? So this Letitia James character, she was Tabitha. I have it documented in history that's the particular person who was Tabitha. She was clearly a Jamaican slave who was brought to the colonies, and she was. They said, well, she might have been Haitian, but she was clearly Jamaican, who believed in voodoo. Back then, it was not just the Haitians who believed in voodoo, because everyone in West Africa believed in voodoo or voodoo. It was essentially the same thing. Santeria to the Brazilians, but it's the same thing. She was a priest, a slave priest, and she believed in a lot of silly stuff to white folks and folks educated. And she's covering that up and believing in so many of the semantics of African American lore. Okay, but anyway, she was Tabitha. I have everything documented, and but Kobe Bryant himself was one of the slaves who grew up with a wealthy family, not a wealthy slave family, but a slave family that grew up in the house of a wealthy white family as almost like family. So he grew up, he learned Spanish. He learned Spanish. So when he got to my plantation, when I purchased out the slave contracts, and I made his family indentured servants to my particular plantation and corporation toward their freedom. When he got to the plantation, he knew how to speak fluent Spanish. And that was shocking back then. When I was Thomas Jefferson, a person speaking Spanish in the 13 colonies was shocking. Okay? Especially an African American or African slave. And he spoke fluent Spanish, and when Mexican immigrants, or visitors visited the colony, and it was every once in a while, he was the only one who spoke Spanish, and they spoke back to him, and he understood everything they said. And all the African slaves thought were, these are some weird-looking Native Americans, weird-looking Indians. Okay? That's what they thought. They did not comprehend Mexico or Mexicans. That comprehension did not make sense back then. Okay? So, yeah. But yeah, so he covered it up. He grew up in Italy in this particular lifetime, and he speaks perfect Italian, and he's not acting. He really speaks perfect Italian. He grew up learning Italian in Italy. He did live in Italy. That's not a joke. That's not some sort of cover-up. I'm telling you guys. I am who I say I am. I am Jesus Christ. I am God. You guys are not going to be able to challenge me or get in the way of anything I have decided as judgment. Okay? What I have decided, communicated, is official judgment to all of heaven, the whole universe, whether you guys recognize it or not. So I'm giving you guys, I'm providing some sort of fair notice. Okay, take this seriously. Okay. So all of the NBA players, all of the NFL players, for the most part, they were West Indian slaves, or the children of West Indian slaves brought to America. I promise you, that's the truth. This is about slavery, even though African Americans involved who have made mistakes, get punished for whatever mistakes they've made consistently. This is about Africans and slavery and so forth. NATO being managed by Black Britons who are going to train African Americans to be lead CIA agents and this and this and that. This is about slavery. I created NATO, in all honesty, I'm telling you guys the truth. This is about slavery. I created NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, as W.E. Du Bois. I really did. I was Thomas John Johnson, and when I got my new avatar, when I got my new corporate identity, I became W.E. Du Bois. I purported being of Haitian Creole descent, but in all honesty, I was born in St. Croix in the Virgin Islands, and I purchased it for the United States, and I stated that whoever was born in any territory or possession of the United States before it was purchased is by automation a natural-born citizen of the United States. So I was safe in purporting myself as a regular African American of just some sort of slight, variation. Okay, but anyway, I created NATO, and this is what I had in mind: the slave triangle, the Atlantic slave trade, the Atlantic slave triangle. I came up with the Bermuda Triangle silly joke. It's just a joke. It's just a cover. It has to do with slavery. NATO was created to be able to provide covertly restitution for the descendants of slaves who are still clearly disenfranchised all over the United States of America, the Caribbean, and elsewhere in the Americas, and in Great Britain, and France, and elsewhere. Okay? So NATO is going to be managed very soon only by Black Britons. Management of NATO, Black Britons, of West Indian birth or West Indian parents, and some of West African birth or West African parents. Okay? And then African Americans are going to say yes to joining NATO and taking it seriously, or their kids being trained into being NSA, Homeland Security agents, auditors, and this and that, and respecting the supremacy of the Central Intelligence Agency, me and my kids being able to lead the effort of infrastructuralizing the African American community and the rest of the African diaspora and toward emancipating Africa and so forth. Okay, so that's the reality. Okay, that's the reality. African Americans are going to be the wealthiest, the most affluent community here in the United States, and it's going to happen damn near overnight, 30 years. It's going to take 30 years to get all of African America into middle class and upward, into being completely affluent. Okay? It's going to take 30 years for the Caribbean community to become completely middle class off its certain variation, and completely powerful in leading the African American CIA project of keeping the redemption and forgiveness plan of the United Nations alive here in the Americas, completely alive moving forward. So Africans and the African diaspora, they're going to gain redemption, and they're going to forgive the rest of the world. Okay? And they're going to do so in leading the political and economic and social effort. African Americans are going to first be African Americans are going to lead economically. They're going to be the CEOs of all the corporations and this and that. They're going to lead economically the Caribbean community. Afro-Caribbeans in the Caribbean community. They're going to lead in the General Assembly of the Americas. They're going to lead within the Union of the Americas, in all honesty, the UA, the future Union of the Americas. So that's the deal. And then Black Britons and so forth, they will be able to protect that particular restitution that we have provided to the United States of America to protect whites from being disenfranchised into abject poverty, and to protect Europe from not being able to recover from what is about to happen all throughout Eastern Europe. With the European Union and NATO essentially taking over all of Europe for social liberalism purposes, and to remove some of the primitivity that we do see with some of the Eastern European governments when it comes to race relations, when it comes to immigration policies and so forth. And when it comes to a true democracy, in the implementation of democratic policies, and not just articulating what's in the Constitution, purporting it to be real, is actually the honest implementation of democratic and general welfare policies while maintaining capitalism. In all honesty, while maintaining capitalism, regulated capitalism as the driving force of the economy. So that's what we have prepared for Eastern Europe and the entirety of Europe, including Turkey and Russia. They're all going to be part of the European Union, and that's the reason. That's one of the reasons why we're having a global war. World War III is actually underway, but it will be declared by the end of June or early July or so. World War III, global war, for the most part. Immediately there or immediately thereafter, very soon. Okay, so Australia, we have a lot of work to get done in Australia. In all honesty, I'm gonna have to send Barack Obama to Australia with a delegation, and he's just gonna have to he's gonna change the Australian flag, the official Australian flag. He's gonna speak with the Aborigine community. He's going to speak with the Aborigine community, and they're going to select the flag for Australia, but they've already spoken with me. I've been to Australia a few times, and I've spoken to the Aborigine community, and they're going to say yes to the beautiful green flag of the Australian flag being the official flag of Australia. They've said yes to it already, but they're going to allow Barack Obama to place it forth and allow him to be able to provide the act of passing that particular directive. And are we going to remove the British government from Australia when it comes to intelligence and security? And the Central Intelligence Agency will take over, not just substantially or predominantly in certain ways, but completely. It's going to manage the Australian security and intelligence agencies, and it's going to help create an Asia-Pacific intelligence community. Okay, so and yes, we're going to create a presidential office of Australia, and it's going to be a semi-presidential system, president and prime minister. And Barack Obama, well, his parents are from Vanuatu and Melanesian, Black Pacific Islanders, closely related to Australian Aborigines, and that's one of the secrets. Clearly they are African. They are of African descent and Negroid, essentially Negroid. But yeah, they say, some of the folks say that the Australian Aborigines are so mixed, we don't know if we consider them Negroid, but they are. The predominance of their genetic makeup is also of African, sub-Saharan, Negroid African descent. So that's the top secret. That's one of the top secrets. His parents are from Vanuatu. We're going to make Vanuatu an associate state of the United States, and we're going to allow Taiwan to be an associate state of China when the war is over with. Okay? So that's what's going to get done. All right? So, Australia, yeah. So New Zealand is also going to do the same. It's going to request a presidential office, and they're all going to request that Scotland gain independence, and I'm going to write the Constitution of the new Republic of Scotland, and I'm going to allow the British government to actually articulate and draft and establish a documental constitution of the United Kingdom of Great Britain, a singular document, and essentially it's just going to name the constitutional documents of Great Britain, including the Magna Carta, as being all elemental, fundamental, and essential to the grand constitution of the United Kingdom of Great Britain. Essentially, in those terms are very similar terms. Okay, so we have a lot of work to do. So yes, Dominica, the Commonwealth of Dominica, will be the first associate state of the United States that is going to be declared, signed by 2026, 2027. How are you, sir? 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 How are you? I'm hanging in there. Are you going to church? Oh, good, good, good. You have a nice one. All right, yeah, so, yeah. So, yeah, it's going to become the first associate state of the United States. And speaking of the Commonwealth of Dominica, that's going to happen in 2026 or 2027. And eventually, when I'm done writing the work papers on the Universal Declaration, after I'm done writing all 30 work papers on the Universal Declaration, each article, I'm going to focus on, hopefully I get to focus on writing work papers on the social and public services of the EAA, and being completely institutionally associated with the Organization of American States. It's going to be more, well, you might argue that it'll be subsidiary, but it is essentially going to be part of the Organization of American States, the system itself, the EAA, the Free Trade and Economic Area of the Americas, the pending Free Trade and Economic Area of the Americas. The EAA is honestly going to be part of the Organization of American States toward us creating the Union of the Americas in 2049. Okay, so we're going to provide public and social services to all residents, immigrants here in the United States and immigrants elsewhere throughout the Americas for Americans' sake and for immigrants' sake here in the United States. There are so many Americans who are going to be, hold on. There are so many Americans who are going to be immigrants all throughout the Americas for foreign service purposes, for corporation purposes, for university purposes, and so many different reasons, okay? They need to be able to maintain some sort of parallel public and social services from the respective government wherever they are. And the same applies to immigrants right here. They should be able to get SSI-like, benefits, even if they're not citizens of the United States, if their condition demands that, by standard. They should be able to get regular food stamps. They should be able to get child welfare without any sort of additional obstacle. And if there's any sort of obstacle, the EAA will be able to supplement a certain situation to provide parallel benefits for all immigrants in the United States who are not citizens and so forth, to make sure that the benefits are equal or parallel enough, where there's no sort of discrimination implied by when considering constitutional principles and constitutional rights and constitutional law. I said, this is the reality. This is what Great Britain is saying to you guys. We have a Constitution of the United States, and it provides constitutional law, and it provides the constitutional rights of it provides the constitutional rights of Americans and those occupying and others occupying the space of the United States of America. That is clear as day, but there's a delineation within the Constitution, and one of the pronounced delineation is that this and this, well, whatever. I'm not going to have to speak on that issue, but we're just going to not speak on that issue, but this is what I'm going to speak on. There are innate constitutional principles and rights that we all do have, and every person, every resident within the United States of America is supposed to be equally protected by every sort of fundamental service provided to the American people, citizens, or otherwise. Everyone should have an equal standard of security, or securities, okay? That is implied by innate constitutional theory, innate constitutional principles, that which would be considered fundamental to the development and progress and evolution of modern society toward utopia. You know, if we are to progress as a country and as a planet, we have to believe that. You never know. You never know what sort of job your kids or your grandkids are going to take. And you never know if they take a foreign service or some sort of other job or INTERPOL job, and they move to another country for at least 5 years or 10 years or 20 years or for the rest of their lives if they decide to. You never know. You don't want your children in a sort of situation where they don't have, some sort of minimum standard public and social service, not just opportunity, but guarantees. Securities and guarantees, equal or parallel to every other person within that particular jurisdiction, guaranteed. And eventually there's going to be a global jurisdiction with time, a century into the future, or even before then, there's going to be a global standard of public and social service, public and social benefits for every person on the planet. Okay, and this is not to keep people unemployed. This is to motivate people to work and to be, to be secure in mind, to have peace of mind while working, to know that whether they work for a year, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 20 years or so forth, if a situation demands that they no longer be able to work, then they should be able to have some sort of social and public service that guarantees that they will be able to survive at least modestly, at least competently, and also they should be able to they should be able to have some sort of in response to emergencies, medical emergencies, and family emergencies and so forth, people should be able to have some sort of guarantee and security that they will be able to survive competently, modestly at least, competently and modestly at least, being able to take care of themselves and their family members while experiencing what they have no other choice to experience, or whatever they choose to experience based on a few options or many options per their peculiar disparity, or their peculiar deficiency, or their peculiar obstacles or trials and tribulations. So in simple terms, you guys can review what I just said over the past 5-10 minutes, and you guys are going to see that it's perfectly literate, perfectly intelligent, perfectly technical, informed, but perfectly comprehensible if you take your time and listen to it. But I'm going to say this in simple form. Everyone in the United States of America, citizen and resident alike, mere resident alike, should be able to enjoy equal or parallel public and social benefits. Every individual in the United States, citizen or mere resident, should be able to receive and have security of mind, public and social benefits equal and parallel to that received by each other for the purposes I have stated. Okay? Constitutional purposes, that which is innate and that which is documented or implied within the Constitution of the United States of America. Once again, it is implied within the Constitution of the United States of America that every person, immigrant and citizen alike, not even immigrant and citizen alike, I'm going to have to say that again, because there are immigrants who are citizens of the United States of America. So I want you guys to understand, do not request that I say immigrant or citizen. Do not request that the federal government of the United States or state governments say, communicate immigrant or citizen as if immigrants cannot possibly become citizens of the United States. That the term itself, naturalization, does not make sense. It's actually oxymoronic. No, it's not. It's just a technical term that provides that an immigrant can become a natural citizen of the United States of America, not a natural born citizen of the United States of America, per se, but a natural citizen of the United States of America, not just a social citizen, not just, some sort of economic citizen, but a natural citizen, a political citizen of the United States of America. So once again, this is what I'm saying to you guys in simple terms. Every individual in the United States of America, the 50 states and the territories, and eventually associate states, should be able to receive and will, based on our effort, receive equal or parallel social, public, and economic benefits here in the United States. Okay? That's what I'm saying to you guys. I just added economic in there, but that's always implied when I say social and political benefits, or when I say social and public benefits. That's implied. Okay? Just by the nature of public benefits itself, it has a lot to do with economics, and even sometimes it has to do with subsidization for small business. Hold on. So yeah, public services. This is the truth. Public services does provide. Public services does provide that immigrants and natural-born citizens of the United States of America should be able to receive subsidization benefits to be able to run their small businesses or their family businesses, or to be able to participate in running corporations without offending the Constitution of the United States or compliance statutes of the federal government of the United States or lower authorities. And certainly without offending ethics and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and the Charter of the United Nations, essentially. Okay? So, so the EAA will be able to create agencies, public service agencies, or multi-public service agencies, which will allow folks to receive some sort of complemental services from the Organization of American States in cooperation with the United States government and vice versa, to allow them to receive equal or parallel benefits to everyone else in the United States of America per standard condition. Okay? So it will not be able, it's not going to allow people to be able to fraudulently receive additional benefits where they don't need additional benefits. If a person receives SSI here in the United States, or Social Security benefits upon their retirement, they are not going to be able to apply to any agency, incorporated by the EAA or created by the EAA, which only provides some sort of parallel, benefit to non-citizen immigrants who are not able to get SSI or who were not in this country long enough to be able to get, real Social Security benefits. It'll provide some sort of computation that allows for them to be able to live a comfortable, modest, and responsible life into their old age, and so forth. So that's one of the benefits, and it will allow Americans who are deprived of certain benefits, whether it's based on this and that, whatever it is, to have a chance, or hopefully a guarantee that they will be able to receive necessary public and social benefits to be able to not just challenge the theory, status quo theories here in the United States of America or elsewhere. It's actually to address their particular situation or that which is standard among so many people here in the United States of America. Okay, so the EAA will be able to revolutionize. Once again, the EAA will be able to revolutionize the way we think of social and public benefits. So they said, well, so many African Americans, traditional African Americans, multi-generational African Americans are saying that their kids are being forced into the prison system, and when they get out, they are not able to receive food stamps, they are not able to receive this and this and that. The EAA will be able to challenge that particular policy of the federal government of the United States, whether it's committed to maintaining those policies or the related policies, or in its act of omission for the right purpose. So a lot of African Americans, a lot of other minorities will say, yes, we need the EAA and multi-public agencies, attached to it or affiliated with it or associated with it or endowed by it or managed by it. Via the infrastructure of the Organization of American States and the one is developing toward the Union of the Americas. That's what they're going to argue, and they will be able to win that victory. So, folks, it's not going to defraud any fund of the Americas or any central bank of the Americas. It's going to allow folks who are disenfranchised and those who are irrationally burdened by it, irrationally or unethically burdened by the disenfranchisement, whether it's lawful, whether it's prudent or not. Those who are irrationally burdened by it, those who are unethically burdened by it, be able to gain the opportunity of surviving life, to be able to live a competent, modest life toward their old age, especially if they're committed especially in being fervent in helping them. I have to say this clearly, especially in being fervent in helping them maintain some sort of good rapport with the community, or simply just be completely responsible, socially responsible. I'm not going to say if that person is socially responsible. I'm not going to provide any provision. I'm not going to assert or communicate any provision which would create the same sort of situation we have here in the United States. So I'm going to say the management of all the multi-public agencies in the United States will make sure, by demanding courses, demanding, not necessarily college courses or university courses at all, but courses and training and tutorship, which will allow young men and women, old men and women, whatever the age criteria, to be able to receive the benefits that they need to be able to survive and take care of themselves and their families without any commitment to criminality, without any sort of commitment to taking our effort as some sort of joke or triviality. So that's one of the things I wanted to communicate to you guys on. I have so much stuff that I have to work on, and I did communicate this, technically and expressly within work papers I have authored on the economic area of the Americas. I have consistently proclaimed and declared that, yes, it will be able to provide social and public services via subsidization efforts, whether it's directly subsidizing federal agencies or national agencies, or in creating multi-public agencies and so forth. I have communicated that within work papers on the EAA and within the legal articles in these societies and within other work papers on related matters or even less related matters. If you read everything that I've written, you will clearly receive the same sort of conclusion, that's what I was articulating and communicating on this particular matter. No doubt about it. Okay? So that's what I'm going to have to focus on. The EAA, after I'm done with the 27 additional articles of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Okay, also, I'm going to have to say this again because I don't want you guys believing that when I say work paper, I perceive that I'm writing work papers for amendment purposes to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. That's not what I'm doing. The work papers themselves are policies of the Central Intelligence Agency as the lead in the United States government and its system. But the work papers themselves, they're articulations of the agency's new policies in moving forward. Okay? It's my decision on what those policies would be. I did consider everything provided within correspondences amongst these folks. A long time ago, ever since childhood, I've had to sit and listen to folks speak of, especially the Mormon Church and the Mormon missionaries. They used to tell me, what they've had to work on in addressing poverty in Puerto Rico, the Caribbean, elsewhere, and this and that, and in the United States, and the maladies they have found within the United States government and in society in general. That's what I learned as a little kid, without them actually believing that I would be able to pull off what I'm pulling off right now. They were not thinking about that itself, but they were just doing their job of communicating to me what their jobs were. And in sitting in on university courses, and as a student myself, I honestly did not have to sit in on too many university courses. I was really a university student, a college student, a law student, but at times I did sit in on a few university courses just to see what was going on outside my particular curriculum. But anyway, so what I learned at university and law school and elsewhere, what I learned at university, law school, and other professional education, academic and professional education, what I learned, I did incorporate it within my process and the mental process it took, in conceptualizing, drafting, refining, and authoring the policies that I've authored for the Central Intelligence Agency and having it published as official and nominal policies of the Central Intelligence Agency. Okay, so what I've also learned in civil society, what I've learned in corporate America, what I've learned as a field auditor, what I've learned all across the world on rescue operations, what I've learned from the Japanese government, what I've learned from the German government, what I've learned from what I've learned from the Venezuelan people when they came here to the United States, when they came here to the United States to speak with me. I've spoken with a lot of Venezuelan immigrants here in this country and migrants, and they spoke to me and they explained the situation in Venezuela, and they explained that Chavez is literally being tortured by Maduro for having proclaimed that the Indio community is okay with a union of the Americas. He was being tortured, psychologically tortured by Maduro. And Chavez really did fake his death. We ordered him fake his death as soon as possible when we saw that Maduro, who clearly was always some sort of strong man, was very serious about covertly taking over the government of Venezuela and saying no to this Indio revolution and just acting as if they were the closest of friends. We saw that coming. Okay, so he was psychologically torturing Chavez, saying, "Don't ever say that you're Indio again, and please, and please don't say that a union of the Americas and that Jesus Christ, who was clearly born in the Eastern Caribbean in this life, actually makes sense when he says that he wants a union of the Americas." He's been saying that ever since childhood in so many different ways. That's what Maduro was saying about me. Okay? So he's been waiting for me the whole time, but I'm pretty sure he's going to surrender to the effort. He's not going to go through shock and pain other than what he's put Chavez through. He's just going to have to travel from town to town, city to city, on the move for maybe 10, 20 years, and then he can retire and say he worked hard enough in selling a story, whatever the story is, whatever he decides the moral of the story is. Okay, so that's it. I don't have to say anything on that. But anyway, anything else on that. But anyway, I've traveled all over the world by covert means. I've hidden my other passports. I've hidden my other aliases at vaults all over the country, all over the world with the Central Intelligence Agency and INTERPOL, which cannot be verified, but they are easily verifiable at this particular point. Okay, cannot be overtly verified, but they are easily verifiable at this particular point. Okay, I have vaults all over the place, and I don't have illegal guns. I don't have time for any of that silly stuff. I have my passports. I have my itineraries. I do have my the folks I've identified as angels and the folks I've had children with identified as angels. So I know who I'm bringing to the United States. I know who's already in the United States. I have all of these things documented in databases and in my vaults all over the place. And they're not drug houses or trap houses or any of that, okay? Or whatever you call drug houses in Atlanta. I think they call them trap houses, whatever that is. But anyway, okay? So I want you guys to know that. So I worked very hard. I've worked shockingly hard over the past 21 years. And I do have my Central Intelligence Agency ID. I do have several, and they're all lawful, all authentic, all operation purpose, all authorized. I do have my INTERPOL badges, not as an INTERPOL officer per se, but an INTERPOL agent. I don't get into the point. I don't get to the point of arresting people per se. I instruct arrest. I instruct arrest as an Interpol agent, as a double agent for the Central Intelligence Agency and Interpol. And whenever I do show up elsewhere in other countries, I always show up with Interpol agents and the support of the United Nations and the entirety of the Interpol family. For the most part, I don't show up in any country as some sort of a crazy person communicating any particular directive or requesting information or briefing those governments and anticipating that we are going to have a global war and we need to stage it instead of place the risk the lives of people all over the planet. Okay, so I want you guys to know this. What you guys saw in Syria regarding the chemical attacks by Assad, what you guys saw regarding the chemical attacks on some of the Syrian people or elsewhere in the Middle East, the Lebanese people or wherever else, what you guys saw, those were clearly staged and clearly altered or edited by cinematography. Once again, what you guys saw with the chemical attacks on children and women and grown men who appeared to be coughing up, spitting all that, choking to death and so forth, clearly acting if you look at it. And if it looks real, you can see that it was it was based on cinema. Okay, I just said the word perfectly, and all of a sudden I can't even say it anymore. Cinematography, essentially that's how you pronounce it, cinematography. Okay? It was based on editing and this and this and that. So I don't want you guys to overreact. Don't overreact at all. Assad has been under house arrest for a while. I've arrested him so many times. He's going to stay under house arrest. And there's nothing else to say about a particular situation. His intent was hijacked. We intercepted it and we staged what he intended just to see what his reaction would be. And when he found out that it was all staged and fake, he was very nervous. So we arrested him, placed him under house arrest, and we told him, well, we'll just wait until we decide which country you're going to have to go to. You're going to have to go to resettle. So we're not proposing anything crazy. He's been punished. He's been interrogated. He's not been exonerated at all. Okay, he's going to have to be under house arrest for the rest of his life. And when we decide to resettle him, if we say you're going to have to move to Turkey, then that's what he's going to have to do, and he's going to be humble and okay with that. Okay, so that was clearly fake, but he believed that. But anyway. What else am I supposed to speak on? They don't know how I could be so confident. I must be who I say I am. Okay, so this is what I want you guys to know. Okay, this